Good morning, everybody. You're tuned to Computers 2K Now on the Nissan Communications Network. I'm Amnon, your host for the next 2 hours, along with Spence.
Good morning.
Good morning. And Gal is here.
Good morning.
Good morning. And Nick is here.
Hey, good morning.
Morning. Our number is 919-518-9773, Computers 2K Voice on Skype. And today's show is made possible by vMix Software, Telestream's Wirecast software, and is sponsored by Tom Sinclair of Live Streaming Gear. Spence, I think you were a little distorted when you said good morning. Maybe you got a little close. Nick, could you tell?
No, it wasn't
Okay.
distorted.
Okay. So it's fine.
No, Amnon, it's you.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm still kind of too aware of what's going on and to keep everybody,
But you should be aware. I mean,
yeah, I
Bothered.
know.
You're in charge.
For,
Responsibility lies directly in your lap.
for over a year, I've been having problems with anytime I use Skype, and under certain circumstances, it distorts the sound of recordings, like videos and things. And we had the problem with the mixer that the drivers are not updated yet and all that. So Nick was here for Thanksgiving. And Nick's been for years trying to tell me to, instead of all the external USB sound cards, he's telling me to use that M-Audio Delta 1010 LT.
old card, by the way.
Old, very old card, but yeah, it's a lot of
PCI.
people. Right, it's a PCI card. It has four inputs, 5 inputs.
No, it has more than that. If you split your stereo
Yeah,
pairs, it's got
right.
8 inputs.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you're sitting there now with headphones. Do you hear it? Put the other one on. Can you tell if it's different?
I wouldn't hear Spence distorted. I'm hearing him directly through the Hangout.
No, I'm talking about, do you hear
Do I hear
me
what?
in any different way now that it's
No.
supposed to be quote unquote stereo?
Well, no, the aux end is not stereo.
Okay. So, all right. Well, so we had to take everything apart.
Oh my God, you do sound different.
so to
Whoa. No, your aux end is still mine.
Hey. Anyway, it took a long time, longer than we'd liked it to, but got rid of a lot of wires and a lot of interconnected devices, and we put that in, and after configuration, it's working really nice.
And
didn't take that long.
the studio is a lot cooler now, and your power bill went down by 20%.
Uh-huh.
It was a pretty quick process. What did we spend? Maybe setting it up, maybe 2 hours.
2-3 hours.
No, we spent more time doing troubleshooting other things
Right, yeah.
afterwards. But the setup of the card was very quick. Maybe
Yeah,
2
there
hours
was
max.
a little. So now, Nick, you're on the other side. Do you hear any noise? I'll be quiet.
I'm not going to hear it through the Hangout.
Okay, good.
Did
I'll
you
probably
fix
hear it
the,
on the stream.
did you
There
fix the
was
dripping faucet? And Did you fix the dripping faucet too?
No, there was a little noise. Well, it was a big noise. And by eliminating this, eliminating that, and Nick going through and okay, let's do this. We got it lower, but it's still there if you're sitting here and you're listening with headphones. There's still some kind of noise in the background.
Amnon has got so much crap plugged in.
Yep.
There's
So
like,
that actually took a lot. That's what took a long time to put the studio together. I mean, yes, you're right. To do the card, it was
very quick, maybe
Yeah.
an hour max.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
but to do the troubleshooting on the noise took a long time.
Yeah. Well, we
And
got it
what
all sorted
about-
out.
What about all the overhead wires too? Did you clean those
no,
out? too?
these are fine. They don't disturb. They go to the other computer and that's
They're
fine.
Okay.
they're neck high. It's okay.
Yeah, that's right.
No, I mean we took out probably what would you say, Nick? About 30 wires,
Yeah, something like that.
mainly just USB and RCA cables that were connecting the external USB cards into into ground loop isolators into anyway.
It's something that happened a long time ago, but when I worked for IBM, I was in field engineering that worked in mainframes. And we worked on raised floor computer areas. And
Right.
some places we were constantly changing the configuration because there was new products would be introduced and we'd have to install new products. And we were using older and newer, what they call bus and tag cables, which are the communications between mainframes. And these cables were not, I mean, some of them were, an inch and a half across. It got smaller over time. But eventually you keep piling stuff up on a floor that's 3 feet high, and you'd have just a ton of cables in there. So we couldn't pull them out. So we go in there we'd identify the ones we didn't need anymore, and we'd use garden loppers, the things you use to cut a branch off a tree.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, we cut the cables and we'd pull them out because there was no way to get them out. So we had to make room because you literally got to the top of the raised floor. You couldn't add anything new.
Did you ever cut the wrong cable?
Yes. You did the best you could. If you were sometimes it was such a long run, even if you cut it at one end and tried to pull it out, you couldn't pull it out. So you had to dig down and find it in the middle somehow.
Yeah.
And usually you could do that. If you had enough people pulling on one end of it, you could get it to move. But yeah, sometimes the wrong one was cut.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is an interesting. I'm looking at this right now. An IBM bus and tag cable. This is an interesting. This thing is huge. The connector is, at least.
Yes, it's a what they call a serpentine, physical serpentine connector. It looks like it's kind of both sides look like an S that interact with each other. But it was, if you bent a pin, you could literally pulling your hair out trying to figure out what was wrong with the system. You'd install a new system or reconfigure a system, and you bring it up and you get an error message. And it's like one pin would be bent. And you have to go around and take them all apart till you found the one that was wrong.
Jeez.
Oh, but those, I tell you, that was one of the highlights of working for IBM was just having those. We would work Saturday and Sunday at time and a half, or what? And actually, it was it was kind of like time, and we get another day off during the week. So it was good. You got overtime and you got days off during the week, which was better than having to work 7 days a week. But yeah, it was a good time.
Neat.
We'd have a lot of fun.
All right. Nick,
What?
you want to tell us about activating MS Word?
Oh, Jesus Christ. Microsoft has made this so freaking complicated. So I had to, what I thought was going to be a simple thing to do at work this week. A couple of customers needed copies of Office 2019. They have Office 365 for users that have email, but there's a couple of computers that are just kind of shared that are used in like kitchens and whatnot that they just needed a copy of Word. So we purchased a couple copies of Office 360, Office 2019. You have to create a Microsoft account. you have to go to like setup.office.com or something like that. You have to put in your product key. You have to create a Microsoft account or sign in with a Microsoft account to get the download link. Once you get the download link, you have to log into the program with the Microsoft account or log into Word with the Microsoft account. It still doesn't work. So you have to go to like options, activate a different way. Then you have to put in the actual product key. It is such a pain in the ass. And I don't understand why it's so complicated.
And it's all that way supposedly to make it easier for you to manage your licenses.
Yeah, well, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And then I just bought a copy for myself and activated it on my laptop when I was up with Amnon, and then got back home and couldn't figure out how to freaking activate it on my computer. I had to go to the email and grab my product key again. I mean, it's not piracy because the activation is checking for. The activation part is doing the check. They're valid keys, but this whole you having to create a Microsoft account and or sign into a Microsoft account to get the download link and the product key for a copy of Office is just asinine.
So that's how they can get their hooks into you. To manage, basically, they're managing your desktop remotely.
Yeah, absolutely. No,
That's
because
all
when
it
you
really what it's about, and there was no secret that that's where they were going.
Yeah.
But and you signed and you agreed to it. So
yeah, I just had never I've always used Office 365 as of late. I've never used standalone like a standalone Office installation. I just could
Yeah.
not believe. Now, was it impossible to? No, but it was way more complicated than it needed to be. What should have taken 5 minutes to activate
Yeah.
copies of Word across 4 computers, and they've taken close to 30 minutes because you had
Well,
to do it
they
on every single computer.
Were they all managed under the same account?
Yes.
Yeah.
I put them all under one account because it was off for one
Imagine if you
customer.
had 4 different accounts.
Well, we do because we have a whole bunch of different customers that bought these keys. So, I put
Oh.
3 on one customer, 1 on another. It's just a huge pain in the ass. And then the best part was after I activated 2 of the keys, I went in and went to activate my third, and the product key that Microsoft gives you, or excuse me, the activation key that Microsoft gives you is not the product key.
Really?
So you put in the product key on the website. You go to setup.office.com or whatever. You put in your 25-digit whatever. You click activate or whatever it says. Then you get a different key. That's your actual product key. So
Okay.
after I put in 2 keys, I went back at the email and looked. I could not figure out which one was the new key that I needed to activate because the other 2 that were on there did not represent the ones that it was just a pain.
No, Nick, it's you. It's you. It's not you. It's not them. They have
Such a
your best
simple thing.
interests at heart.
Yeah, my best interest of
Yeah. Every time they
making me-
make a feature change, they always change something that you're used to doing. You're going, I know how to fix that setting. You're going to find it, and suddenly it's gone. It's been moved. It's been moved to a new category, or it's been renamed, or it's been for some reason they just feel like they have to change something, even if it really doesn't make a lick of difference. Oh,
You know
Yeah.
what I find the most interesting about this entire ordeal? It's that if you want to pirate the copy, it's probably easier.
Well, oh, definitely. And what I find, like, regular people, non-tech people, can go to the store and buy standalone copies of Office.
Right.
How the hell are those people activating? It's so counterintuitive.
Oh, they don't. It just every day or two it just pops up and you should activate. Oh yeah, I'll do it someday.
I mean, it was
Remember-
pretty shocking.
Remember, you know what our zero flashers are?
Me? No.
No. So a zero flasher, back in the day, when the time would be displayed on every digital device you would buy. So not even non-digital device. They'll have any digital displays will have a time display, right? So a VCR or your microwave, and out of the store when you plug it in, it just flashes 0.
Oh,
Oh,
Right.
okay, yeah.
So a zero flasher is the person who never takes the time, never doesn't even know right? What that does and doesn't really care. And so the house has zero flashing everywhere because they've never set up the time, never set up the clock because it's a manual process. It's a technical process. You need to understand that there's a few buttons you need to press.
I didn't
So
change. I haven't
this
changed a
is-
single clock in my house from daylight savings time. All
So-
of the clocks in my house are an hour fast,
Well, you probably.
but I don't.
remember when
I use my phone as my clock, so it doesn't matter.
Well, yeah. I remember being 17, high school, always being late, and then daylight saving came and everything moved back. And so I would wake up and I would use the clock on my wall, and it was like for a month or so, it was like I was waking up with a start and got going fast, but I was always on time.
My microwave and coffee maker both say 10:24 right now.
Yeah.
And they'll say that until it's actually 10:24, or till the power goes out.
So the new modern version of zero flashers is the those that where the activation always pops up and
Yeah.
they never do anything about it
And it's
That's all.
crazy because you can literally use a word like that
for a while. It does
eventually.
180 days or 120 days into it.
It's
It
stupid.
it becomes so you can't save the document or whatever, and that's when you try to tackle it.
I think a better way to force people to activate is to go in into Word and then have it so it's changing words as you type. So it will change the word to something else, and just
Anything you type will
And
say,
say,
I have not
we're
activated.
messing with your
I have
head.
not activated.
we're messing with your head, so you'll activate. So until you activate, all these words will change automatically.
Yeah, but we make it so complicated to activate. Good luck.
We had a trick we'd play on people back in the early days of PCs, PC1s, PCXTs. You could go in and remap the keyboard when you started the operating system. There was a tool you could do that with. So we would go around and start somebody's computer up using this specific disk and then take it out and put the real disk in. But it would go in and you type G and it would put a J. Or you type a 1 and it would put a 3. So, oh, there's something wrong with my computer. Well, did you try rebooting it? Oh, no, I'll try that. And reboot, everything would work. So the next day you do the same thing. You just keep messing with these people's heads. Oh, it was so much fun.
You're
That's
so
That's
mean.
incredibly mean.
Oh, of course it was. Well, we were in a bullpen of a bunch of people that were working on a project, and we were all friends. We knew each other. We were from the same branch office, but we were always trying to do pranks on each other. And this was just one guy in particular who wasn't real PC savvy. We were merciless with this guy because he was always doing some kind of prank. We got him to the point where he was pulling his hair out. That's
pretty funny.
I got to call for service. I got to replace the keyboard. It was great.
Yeah, that's mean.
I love how you say you had to start the computer up with a specific disk to change
Oh, yeah,
the
'cause
keyboard.
there was no-
Yeah,
This is even before we had
Not a disk, a diskette.
that did
Diskette,
Yeah,
diskette. True,
diskette.
yeah. I know what he meant by disk.
Yeah. So you have a floppy and that would start the machine up, and it was usually you had a terminal emulator on there that you would use to connect to Profs, the IBM mainframe application or screen, and then you have local PC stuff you could do, very limited what you could do. You might have a copy of Lotus 123
Ooh.
on floppy.
Unless you had a double diskette.
Yeah, in this case, some of us had double diskettes, and then we finally started to get the 10 meg
Mm, hard drive.
hard drives and started putting those in.
10 megabytes.
10 megabytes. That's right. And
Yeah.
Bill Gates said, who would ever use that much storage? Why can't see any circumstances where people would use that much storage?
The new Call of Duty is 145 gigabytes. The game unpacked.
Oh, wow. Amazing.
Oh, interesting. Alan is saying that a disc was 8-inch. Diskette was 5.25. I don't know.
Yeah, 5 1/4. That's what they were called, floppy diskettes.
Yeah.
And after that, we got 3.5 inch.
Yeah, the 1.44.
Yeah, 1.2.
Yeah,
1.44. Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow, that
Yeah.
must have sucked.
No, they were great.
Hey, you know what, Nick? I still have my old XT computer up in the attic, and I got it down a couple months ago, and there was a bin filled with diskettes up there, sitting in my attic. It gets really hot in the summer, really cold in the wintertime. They still work.
Next time I'm up in Raleigh, I'd like to come over. I'd like to see that.
Want to see that?
Yes.
It's an old RGB screen,
Yes, I'd very
I've
much
got-
like that.
old games on there,
Oh yeah, that'd be a lot
like
of fun.
Tapper and Load Runner. And,
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Since we all use them, I'll ask you guys, what was the suckiest when you had to use the skits? What was the
Well,
hardest?
Installing
No,
Microsoft Windows,
no.
for example, was terrible because you have to replace the diskettes in the
Yeah,
middle.
but what else?
uh,
Something you do all the time, hopefully.
what?
Oh, I
copying?
know what he's gonna say. Backups.
Backups.
Yeah.
Put disk number 2, put disk number 3. And you had to, yeah, it's not like you can start the backup and go to sleep like
Yeah.
today. You have to sit there and just keep
and
on
if it
feeding.
failed, so like one disk had a write error, you had to start over.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, but,
I run
but
Carbonite to do my back.
it worked. You remember taking one-sided diskettes and make it a double side?
Yes. Do you remember defeating the? Remember the ones the copy protection they used to have? They put a laser hole
Yep.
in the disk.
Yep. They had all kind of. I mean, it was interesting, and the guys in the chat that remember all these things, yeah, it was fun.
Bunch of old timers hanging out.
Oh, hush up.
That's it.
We weren't old timers then.
It was the
Trailblazers.
it was bleeding edge at the time, and
Yeah.
I remember the first online experience I had with my home computer was Prodigy, which was an online dial-up online service. And unfortunately, where I lived, the closest pop for Prodigy was a long distance call. So I had to limit myself to, a few minutes of dialing in. And you had an online encyclopedia.
Mhm.
First time I'd ever experienced that. I mean, I had been in chat rooms and things which were just graphic vocal stuff. Didn't do a lot with it, just kind of chatting. But the Prodigy was the first GUI, nice graphics looking way to go online and here, check the news, and here's a chat room, and here I don't know if they had email yet.
FidoNet.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, which was a really bizarre piece of engineering. FidoNet was you would, because there was no online connection, like constant online connection, and running something like a BBS, like a bulletin board system, you would utilize the lines for incoming connection. FidoNet would be like a distributed tree-like structure where the nodes would interchange caches, and so that's how mail would follow. Each one would get an address based on the nodes that it's connected to, and once a day or twice a day or however you schedule it, a dial-out connection would go out to the node up the tree and would fetch whatever package should go down the stream. And so these interconnected, disconnected nodes, right, would hook up periodically and just grab stuff for down the stream, and that's how people would be able to communicate with messaging system like email. It was so bizarre. I don't remember anybody really using it substantially, but at least not around Israel, or not the young people. But I ran a BBS for a while as a hobby. Couldn't have a dedicated number, so the number was only available after working hours because I would use my father's office number. Yeah.
Oh,
he
boy.
hated it because people would dial in the middle of the day hoping to find an active BBS line. And so he'll pick up the phone in, I don't know, 1 p.m. and get those gnawing the
Noises.
modem sounds, right? It would drive him nuts. Yeah.
Yeah,
That was a strange time.
I ran FidoNet for about probably 5-6 years, but we had somebody in Greensboro, Ben Mann, may he rest in peace, who had hardware all over the place. So he always gave me the best hardware in order to run, because I was the regional coordinator for mail.
I remember I actually knew you when you were doing something like that, because you were playing around with modem banks and
No, that
was
was
that
for dial-up. That was for internet dial-up. We met after I got
that's
out
right,
of
that's
this.
right. Yeah, that's right.
But I had, Gal, you ready for it? I had a BBS with 4 lines, 4 dedicated telephone lines.
That was expensive.
Well, you see, because I was in business for myself, I mean, this was a write-off, because it was technical, but it was a lot of fun. And then after the telephones, we went into satellite, and I still have the satellite, the radio, and the dish outside to
Wow.
receive, because we were running telephones 24/7, all that, like every hour, because everything needed to be fresh. So it was, it was a lot of fun back then, and you could, we had people that were developing things. As a matter of fact, with the TI-99 4A, which was my first computer, the Texas Instruments,
That was my first purchased computer.
the guy that wrote the X modem protocol to actually communicate online was a friend of mine, who's still a friend of mine here in Raleigh, and we were testing it. He was writing it in assembly.
Oh boy.
And we were testing, and finally it was ready. So we sent it up, and they incorporated into FidoNet and into Opus and all. We can sit here and talk forever, but I don't know that everybody in the chat.
Amnon,
is interesting.
has it been long enough that you can declassify how you were a backup communications link for United States Navy submarines?
Let me tell you something. No, but you know what we did do? We ran, and there was a big article about FidoNet here in the area or in the paper, because we made it possible for soldiers to, back then it was the Gulf War, the first Gulf War, I
Yeah, sounds
believe,
right.
or was
Yeah.
it? I don't remember.
91. Yeah.
And they could send emails back and forth to their families, and we made it possible for them.
I've got a question.
Hold
Well,
on,
there-
hold on. Alan is asking, did you run the
no, I
major
did not.
BBS?
I did not run major. I did run Opus and the TI-99 4A. Yes, it was expensive to put online. You're right, but I don't know that an IBM XT or AT was any cheaper to put online. So I did run Fido. I did our Opus. Front Door sounds familiar. I don't remember. But yes, I did read the Boardwatch magazine, and I probably still have a stack in the attic. Anyway, you could, these were the days when you can come home if you work, and you say, okay, what can we do with a computer? And you had things you could do with a computer. Today it got to the point where it's like a hammer. You don't come home and you say, okay, what can I do with a hammer? Let me go hammer something. No, you use it when you need to. Back then it was, let me see if I can do this. Let me see if I can do that. It was a different type of relationship.
You know how I used to spend so much time just dabbling. I used to spend hours hours every night. I'd be up till
Yeah.
2 o'clock in the morning. I'd sit here, I'd get something new, some new card, some new thing. And I'd sit down and I'd just play with it and play with it and play with it. And it was just, I can't do that anymore. I mean, I sometimes I will, but but typically it was just such a good diversion from, I would put in the chat about how my first PC was a Commodore PET. And I wrote programs for my kids that were just simple, basic programs that would be, put up a challenge like select which letter is lowercase, and you'd have to press a button for 1, 2, or 3, or 4. And I taught myself programming that way. But my kids, that was their first exposure to a computer, was just very simple, basic games that I wrote from scratch. You have a lot of questions up there from.
Yeah, I know. I can't remember. Alan, I mean, I remember we had to patch something, or Randy is the guy that was the programmer with the TI-94, and he did, or George Peace in Pennsylvania. I don't remember, but somebody did it so you could have multiple lines. And there were very few multiple line BBSs. We had one more here. But you know what was not really expensive? Why it was easy? One thing was Ben with computers. Second thing, shoot, what was the name of the modem company?
US Robotics.
US Robotics. US Robotics used to give us the modems, the fastest and latest modems, because we could test the modems for them. And we always had the latest thing. I remember, wow, 2400. Gee, wow. Oh, wow, 9600 HST. I mean, it was.
What year would this have been? Early 90s?
Late 80s.
1876.
Yeah, late 80s and early 90s.
Okay, so here's the question for everybody. Will there ever be that, 30 years is what you're talking about. Will there ever be such a jump, such a noticeable jump in technology from now to, call it, 2050? Obviously, the technology is going to be way crazier, but we've already got fast connections where we can have we're having a conversation right now with 4 people across the internet. So even if the internet is 1,000 times faster, this conversation still happens, right? This conversation doesn't get any better by the internet being quicker.
I think we went from a generation where this stuff didn't exist to a generation now where it's normal. So I think there may be some breakthroughs that they have in like holograms and artificial intelligence that could possibly be like huge game changers, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Neither do I.
The expectation is there.
Hold on. Smartphones were a huge jump.
True.
Right? There were another jump, and that was 20 years after the fact. So even less, 15. Okay, since the introduction of the internet to the public, I'm not talking about because it was a project since the 70s, but 90s is when people started going online, and then 2006, 2007, right? The iPhone,
Apple, yeah,
right. So that was another game changer. We'll get more of these. I think we'll get them actually in shorter iterations. And
maybe it'll be embedded, something you implants.
But will it be so noticeable? Because what you guys are describing, Gal, situations where, during certain hours of the day, you could do phone calls. Spencer's talking about dialing up long distance, could only be online for. You're talking about a drastic change in usability. Drastic. Will we have that again?
When did you join Facebook? What age?
I don't remember. I can look.
Sure. Like, was it a game changer for you?
I was either in middle school or early high school. I don't remember.
Did you take it for granted, or was it a game changer?
Oh, at the time, it was a game changer.
Right. So, and that's the introduction of social media, right?
Yeah.
It existed before. I mean, we had forums, we had other sites where you connect. We had dating sites. Everything existed before. Facebook did just was a mark of a change, right? A shift. And so I think the changes will be like that. It will be before and after, right? Um, and whether they'll be that noticeable, I don't know. That's a good question. I think we'll get more and more of these. I think we'll get used to getting changes all the time, but I don't know if I always think about the life of my father when I'm thinking about that. Right? He was born in Europe, 48. Right? We're talking about an age where telephone lines were rare. We're talking about an age where TV wasn't yet introduced. Right? We're talking about it's like and looking at the history and the timeline, right? The amount of changes that he got to experience, I definitely don't have that many, right?
Well,
What
Compared
about
to
your
him.
son, Gal? Like-
regardless of the way that what technology is, my grandfather was born in 1900, and he was alive to see people land on the moon. From the invention, airplanes were 1903 was the first documented, and then within 60 years or so of that, we were on the moon.
Hmm.
So, I think that what's amazing to me is that how many thousands of attempts at bringing out something new fail, but there's one that will rise to the top, right? Some one thing. So there's so many people looking for the next big thing, so
Yeah.
they can be on board, and yet, I remember testing a product. This has got to be, let's see, it has to be the mid 90s. It was a beeper-like device. This is before we did have early cell phones then, but they were not all that sophisticated. It was it would look like a beeper, but what you did was you get a notification, and instead of you calling in to find out what your messages were, it used a digital connection to play the message for you. So you press this play button, and a little speaker in that thing would say, "Hi, this is so and so. Give me a call." And we tested it locally for about a year, and then the company disappeared. It was gone. I mean, that idea got absorbed into mobile phones. So there's so many things out there that come along and just have their moment and are gone.
But that's normal.
Oh yeah, no, I'm excited by it. I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's great. But now you can do a pretty good job of doing a sniff test on something new to realize whether or not it'll be successful. Because some ideas are just a little too wacky.
And obviously, Spence, you talk about your grandfather, and obviously, while that is a huge leap in technology in 60 years, I find it fascinating to hear you guys talk about the connectivity to people, because I don't have any experience. I don't think that will ever happen again. Because you went from taking people that could previously, you would have had no way to communicate with.
I tell you how.
Just happen to just flip randomly through a phone book and just say, pick out a number. Oh, here's a guy named Gal. Let me call him. You would have had no way to communicate with him. Now you can have a full service, video chat back and forth. I don't know if you can experience that again.
I'll give you one more.
Let's hear it.
Today, right?
Mhm.
A 5-year-old kid, 6-year-old kid steps out of the house, right, to go on the school bus, and he's still connected to home, right?
Mhm.
Go back 10, 20 years ago, right? He would step out of the door, and he is
On his own
completely.
Yeah.
Nobody knows anything about him except him, right? Nobody's tracking him. Nobody knows where he is. And if he's out of sight of any adult, right, then he's with zero adult supervision. That will never come. That will never happen again.
Don't say.
Not in the Western world, right?
Don't say that.
Well, you're talking about catastrophe.
Yeah, I'm talking
But,
about
yeah,
catastrophe.
yeah,
I'm talking about
But
EMP.
what I
and,
mean,
you know,
technological wise, right?
right?
That has completely changed.
Yeah.
Our kids are no longer free,
Talk about
like in
umbilical
complete
cord,
freedom.
right?
What?
Talk about the umbilical cord.
Yeah. I mean, this is
Yeah.
George Orwell's 1984, right? That this is exactly what it became. This
Wow.
is the real version of 1984, right? So there is no longer complete freedom unless you specifically decide to go, live in some offline area. That's
Anybody listen to the Scott Adams podcast?
Yes.
I like it. There are things he says that make me crazy, but because I realize, but he does say a lot of good. It's an entertaining podcast. But he said something the other day. He says, "I have given up all expectation of privacy.
Yeah.
It's gone.
So have I.
I don't have it. I have to assume now that nothing I do is private." And I said, "How sad." But at the same time, if you grow up with that expectation, good or bad, you won't notice.
No,
It'll
I don't.
always be.
I don't really. We talk about privacy and whatnot on this show, and I have a better understanding of it because of my technical background. But it's not something that I really struggle with. I
Right.
grew up in it.
And
It's
that's
not
the
something I
point.
struggle with.
Yeah. I still have times when I'm working during the day, and this is mostly out of a courtesy, but if I'm working in someone's house, especially if I'm working around the house outside, it's not such a big deal. But if I'm in their house doing something, I leave my phone in the truck. I don't want it to be, I'm there to work on this. I'm not there to take text messages, right? Or
Yeah.
now I do check it every so often. It's not like I go a long time, but I usually don't have it with me. And that's, it was forgetfulness at first, but now it's intentional. What could happen? Well, yeah, things could happen that would require my immediate attention, but I just have that. I think there's a movement now too to detach. I tell people on my tours in Alaska when they'll come out to the motor coach, right? And they'll say, "What's the Wi-Fi password for the motor coach?"
Mhm.
I'm like, we don't even have phone service here. Don't expect that. And I warn people. I say, if you put your phones in
Airplane.
airplane mode, because we're going to be out where there's no service. So if you use your phone to take pictures, save the battery. So it's the expectation level. The other story I tell them, which is great, is that in 1900, when they started to open up communication lines in Alaska, telegraph lines, prior to them putting in the telegraph line, it took 1 year to get a round trip message from a town called Eagle, Alaska, to Washington, D.C. and back. 1 year. This is 1900.
what's the baud rate on that?
Yes, and couldn't get
Minus
angle
12.
satellite, right? But because it was just so remote, and then they put in a telegraph line, problem solved. There could be communication within a day. Then they put in wireless, same thing, communication anywhere within a day. So
And today they want it to happen within seconds. If it doesn't happen within seconds,
things is I travel on these really remote roads that have, like, you drive along a main highway, it has no shoulder.
Mhm.
There's no breakdown lane. You're driving along, to hills and woods and all that stuff, and it literally every once in a while there might be a turnoff, and you see a truck burying fiber on the side of that road. It's just
yeah, no
amazing.
shoulder, but fiber. Yeah, nice. Yeah. All right.
Yep.
Let's switch from that. Something here. I don't know how many of you heard, but Twitter will begin deleting accounts that have been inactive for more than 6 months unless people will log in before an 11 December deadline. So if you have multiple Twitter accounts, and you really want to keep them, like maybe your name and your kid's name and your wife's name, whatever. If you want to keep them, you need to log into them, so they will stay up and they will not get deleted.
I have several test Twitter
Yeah,
accounts I
well-
used to use for demos that I'm happy to let them go. I
Okay,
never deleted
that's
them.
fine, yeah. That's good, because I don't know how to remove a Twitter account if I want to
Yeah.
delete one.
You
I
can.
don't think you can.
Yeah.
You can, well, you can
See-
deactivate it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can.
Ah.
Well, you can scrub it, but everything is forever. I mean, it's
So I think it's very important, especially for those who have very short account names, because those are high commodity.
Yep.
And so
Fortunately, the guy that uses @NickCraig is very active on Twitter. So
I am
have- I
GSZ.
have
I don't
the,
use Twitter, but I'm GSZ.
I have Blown Gasket on Twitter.
Ooh, that's good.
I know I've had it a long time.
So yeah, so just log into these accounts. All you have to do is just log in, log out, so they will not get deleted.
Does that include their free service for deactivating accounts at random?
Yeah, that's what you get.
No, I mean just active accounts that they go in and for some reason they'll come up with an obscure reason. Usually it's because of the content that they don't like. That they'll, deactivated, you violated our rules, and then you question them exactly what rule did you violate, and they'll send you like 6 pages of terms and conditions, but not telling you exactly what rule you violated. You violated the terms and conditions. Which one?
Yeah, that's the problem. Is same thing with YouTube.
Yep.
They don't tell you what it is, but yeah, you violated.
And oh, by the way, our terms and conditions changed yesterday.
Yeah.
And
To
you're in
what?
violation today.
We always wondered what is the situation with SSDs as far as how many writes, how many this, how many that. Are they going to last forever? No. Well, yeah, the new one. Listen to this story. HP SAS solid-state drives are affected by a firmware problem, which causes these drives to stop working after 32,768 power-on hours. Now, that number is
Yeah.
significant. This is I don't know what it is, but I
No,
recognize.
I know exactly what it is. I read about this, and this is like hysterically. If it wasn't so sad, it's just hysterically fun.
Well,
It's
so
so stupid.
it's
Yeah.
3 years and 9 months if it's up and running. If these drives are not flashed with updated firmware before the failure, the drives and the data on them become unrecoverable at that time. If several of these drives are installed and operated together in a RAID, they are going to fail almost simultaneously. Patch or assume the risk of failure, says Hewlett Packard Enterprise.
Yeah, so it's 32,768, 767 seconds.
Well,
And
Oh,
that's
is that what it
because
is?
They're using a 16-bit registry.
okay, that's what
Register.
the number is. That
Yeah.
number is like the 60 some. There's 32, then there's.
Right.
Yeah.
So a 16-bit register can contain 0 to 65K, 6,500, 1,535. And so you take half because it's the positive and negative. And yes,
The
and
thing
that is such a
the thing that I'm why that caught my eye is if the other ones, if other SSDs are also somehow have that kind of algorithm, it may be a bigger number, but there is a certain number, then hey, we need
First
to
of
worry
all,
about it.
Not necessarily.
I
mean,
know.
It depends on the design. I don't know.
Right. We
The
don't
fact
know,
that
but
there's a timer is infuriating. I agree.
Yeah.
Right. It's infuriating on so many levels that it's just unbelievable. But yeah, this is. It has become such a thing that if you bought a batch, okay, a batch of these and you install them approximately at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
even in remote locations,
Mm-hmm.
everything will fail
Everything will
at
fail
the
at
same
the same.
time.
Yep.
And this is like
That's
the
ridiculous.
worst design ever. Yeah.
So if you own an HPE, that's HP Enterprise SaaS, and SaaS is not something that a lot of people have. I mean, but it's used in servers and higher. Just make sure you back up, or replace them.
Back up, but not to another hard drive.
No, not to one of those.
Another manufacturer's hard drive. So
Yep.
now they have made it so that those who are, I read it. I'm following a subreddit group called Data Hoarders, and that's where it was discussed. And these people have hundreds of terabytes of storage. Some of the very active people there. I mean, they're discussing Yahoo is taking off. I don't know, Yahoo groups. Who's gonna make a dump of everything, right? They're thinking like the Internet Archive mindset, and so this whole concept of the data that you have isn't safe just because you chose a line of hardware. Now it becomes these people are going to invest money in making sure they have non-uniform hardware. Before, we would go and think, hey, make the hardware uniform because then it's more reliably, duplicated, copied, and all that. Now that is out of the window as well. It's ridiculous.
Now, how would you like to take a machine that you have with a SAS, one of those SAS drives, and patch the drive? I mean, of course, you're going to have to run a backup first.
Yeah.
But I mean, to patch a hard drive.
Yeah, I've never experienced that. This is so outwardly. It's
yeah.
But somehow it happened in HP.
Yep, it happened. I wonder how many.
I have zero trust in until today. Now I have less than zero trust.
I wonder how many heads will roll.
It doesn't matter.
Did anybody see? And I'm trying to find it now. The AMD against Intel Cores meme.
Oh,
there was a great meme that showed Intel AMD 4 cores, AMD 8 cores, AMD 16 cores, AMD 32 cores, AMD what, and it just kept going, and it showed Intel 8 cores, 8 cores, 8 cores. It was just a funny meme. Did you see the story about their supply forecast? They cut it, and it forced Dell to cut their forecast because of Intel supply challenges. That was incredible. I mean, I didn't see the story anywhere else, but Intel forecast that they had supply and production issues, and that caused Dell to cut their forecast for the year. It's incredible.
And they're saying HP, horrible products.
Yeah.
All right, Spence, are you ready for specials?
Yes. Let me just move it to the correct place on the screen so I can see it. Here. And make it bigger. And I'm ready.
All right.
So, guys, what do you think of the picture this time? You notice that I actually got the angle of the embedded pictures to match up with the
Very
screens.
nice.
And I found out that it's a relatively simple thing. In PowerPoint and Word, you just click on window picture properties, and it will let you do XYZ coordinate adjustment of the screens of the picture, which I didn't even know how to do. I'm looking at it, I said, I should be able to do this somehow. And I'm looking, do a search, it says within Photoshop or within all these other programs, and I find it within Office. Oh, cool. So yeah, it wasn't as hard to do as I thought. Although I couldn't figure out a way. I actually cut the guy's head off in the picture if you look close.
So
So-
after the specials, I'll talk about that. I have some tips. I've been
Yeah.
dealing with something the past couple of weeks. So
Yeah, but I was pleased to see that it wasn't nearly as hard as I thought.
yeah,
So-
it is getting easier. I agree.
All right, so we're invading basements worldwide with this Cyber Monday preview. And interestingly enough, our two vendors, Staples and Office Depot Office Max, did a much, much, much better job of managing their webpage for specials. Now, granted, they don't have the plethora of products that Best Buy has. They don't sell refrigerators and things like this, appliances. But they did a much better job with this. Best Buy was okay today. It was still all over the place as far as managing how to find things. I'm sorry that they seem to be exploring when they had a pretty good system before. What made them change it, I don't know.
All right.
Okay, so be that as it may. All right, Staples, Cyber Monday preview. We've got Apple iPads on sale, 10.2 inch, 32 gig for $249, which is actually, what is it, 24% off. Doesn't actually tell you how much that is, but still a good discount for Apple. HP 15.6 inch quad core i7 laptop, $499. This is normally $829.
Probably has a SAS drive.
It's got one of those bad drives in it, right? Solid state drives. Yeah, but that's a hell of a machine. They've got a HP 23.8 inch LED monitor for $69.
Wow.
1 hour pickup, that's normally $129, 46% off. This price for the Amazon Fire Stick is pretty much across the board. You can get it at Amazon. And the same thing with the 4K streaming stick. But it's half price, $19.99 for the Amazon Fire Stick. If you're looking to upgrade your wireless router for home, this is the time to do it. All over the place, good deals. Now, you may not be a fan of Netgear. I don't know. I actually knew the original president of Netgear when it was a Bay Networks company. I used to know him, and I used to buy stuff at the company discount to give out in my classes that I taught. But Netgear has a great founding. Yeah, maybe they went into the weeds in some cases with support. But all right, Netgear Nighthawk AC2400 wireless router for $69.99, normally $199. We've got a HP 14-inch laptop, Core i5 for $369, normally $629, 41% off. You're looking for a laser printer. Now, this is a Brother single-function laser, monochrome laser, meaning it does not do duplex. It does not do, well, actually, it has
It does.
So it does do duplex. It does not have a network built into it.
Okay, Nick and I were talking about what does the US stands for? I mean, normally it's W and D and this
United
is
States.
yeah, I know, but
There's
what?
one specifically designed for use in
Maybe.
the United States.
All right,
I don't know. It speaks English, Amnon. It doesn't
Yeah,
speak any
yeah.
other languages. So,
all right, go on.
all right. So, single function laser, $39.99. Normally, that's 60% off. Normally, it's $99.99. So, if you have one that you can plug into a USB port or a local desktop. Oh man, it's a good price. All right. Bose Quiet Comfort 35.2 wireless headphones, $279, normally $349, 20% off. Acer 31.5 inch LED monitor for $149, normally $249, so $100 off. Got an HP Pavilion i5 desktop, $349, normally $629, that's 44% off. If you went to their webpage and clicked on NXT Technology flash drives, they must have had, I don't know, 16 different offerings of flash drives. This is just one example. But here you have a 64 gig USB 3.0 drive for $10.99, normally $29.99. So that's 63% off. Comparable savings across the entire line of different size flash drives, USB 2.0 and 3.0. All right, Amazon Fire 7.7-inch tablet, $29.99, normally $49. This is the same across all the retailers and at Amazon, so this is not unique to Staples. HP Envy 7855 photo printer. Now this is their high-end Envy printer. $99.99, regularly $229. This is 56% off. And this is not the cheapest TP-Link that's out there today, but this is for $59. You can get an Archer C7 AC 1750 dual band router. If you have wireless connection issues in your home, you have a medium-sized house, not a big 5,000 square foot place. But this would be if you're going to have a single router in your home. I have this one. I know several people that have this model. It's a very good price for it, but it's $59, which is $30 off or $20 off the regular price.
Can this model be loaded with custom firmware, like DDWRT or something like that?
I don't know. I would think if it's the newer versions, you got to go check their list. But I have an older TP-Link that I did use, and I put it on there, and it worked fine. But you got to check their list, and it's based on release level, like version 1, version 2, version 3, depending on what chipset they use.
Right.
Whether it's compatible or not. I don't know. I don't know if this one is or not.
I'll keep an
But
eye.
even in itself, it's a good router. We've got a Seagate 6 terabyte USB 3.0 external hard drive for $99, normally $139. Roku streaming stick for $29.99. That's half. Oh, it's 40% off. It's not half price, but good deal there. We've got now. Normally, we talk about how expensive the tapes are for the Brother labelers. A 40% off sale on the actual tapes. This is something that usually never goes on sale. So if you have a TZE printer, label printer, stock up on the tapes now. You can get this is $13.49, regularly $22.79. So that's a big savings, almost $10 off on the tapes. And finally, we have one of the advanced Logitech MK540 wireless keyboard and mouse combos for $31.99, normally $60. So almost 50% off there. That's all at Staples. Had enough yet?
No.
Don't want more? Okay. Office Depot Office Max. Excellent laptop deals and desktop deals here. Lenovo L340 laptop, 15.6-inch screen, i3, $399, save $130. This is a deal. Lenovo Flex 5 i7 laptop, $569. Normally, you see the normal price, $999. It's $430 off. Now maybe that's the list price. I don't know, but still,
Probably.
that's a really good deal.
Flex,
If
is
you want a
that,
high-end laptop.
are those the ones that flip, the Flex ones?
I believe so.
I don't know.
I believe they flip over. It doesn't say convert. It doesn't. Yeah, it's a touchscreen, so it should be. It should be the kind that you can flip back against itself. Plus, it's a super ultralight. So
Yeah. The
Yeah.
Lenovo Flex 5, they can be folded completely
and
and use
put it
as
to
a
tablet mode.
yeah. an
All right.
i7 like that. Wow.
i7. Yeah, that's a deal. I think they might have one per store. It's already
Maybe.
sold cars by. Or these are. I think these are available online and not necessarily store pickup only.
Well, Cyber Monday.
Yeah,
so
Cyber
should
Monday.
be
Why
on
would
it,
they
yeah.
do that? Yeah.
Yeah.
I did see some stuff at Best Buy. It says store pickup only. I said, wait a
Oh
second.
man.
You know. But then maybe it falls outside of the Cyber Monday sale. All right, we've got an HP 15.6-inch i3 for $349. Regularly $549, so it's $200 off. HP 14-inch i5 for $429, $160 off, and an HP 21-inch all-in-one with an AMD A6 for $399, which is $50 off. Not a big price difference there, but these are very versatile machines if you have the need for this type of an all-in-one. All right, my favorite printer, which is this Brother, all-in-one. Typically, it's got the fax machine, and you can just look at the keyboard, the key surface here, the controls panel surface, to know if it's got a fax machine or not, just by the number of buttons on it. But this is just a very versatile machine, monochrome laser, all-in-one. $74 off for 109. It's normally 180 something. So that's a deal. They do make a slightly cheaper version of this. It doesn't have the fax machine built in, but that one is typically not on sale. All right, HP Pavilion Ryzen 7 desktop for $549, save $150. Lenovo Idea Center 540 gaming desktop i7 $849, $280 off. It's usually $1129. HP OfficeJet Pro 6978 all-in-one printer, $69.99, save $110. So if you need a high-end inkjet printer and you want to get an HP machine, it looks like it's got a fax machine. At least it has a multiple sheet document feeder. It's a duplex machine, prints on both sides. 110 off. Passport, my Passport from Western Digital, 2 terabyte portable external drive for $64.99. That's $45 off the regular price. Netgear Nighthawk AC 2600 dual band gigabit router for $130.99. That's $99 off the regular price. And I mentioned earlier about another TP-Link. This is the TP-Link Archer C20. Now, this is not a high throughput router necessarily, but if you live in a small space, you're in an apartment, you don't have to have, you're not competing with a lot of other people on the same device. The reason why this is a great deal, $27.99, it's only $7 off the regular price, but $27.99, it gives you the wireless AC features, which are all the really good interference mitigation, automatic choosing of channels, lots of other features that are built into the AC standard. Now, the 750 means it doesn't have that much cumulative throughput. But if you, like I said, if you're in a small environment or you want to support a part of your house that doesn't have real good coverage because it might be a guest room or something like that, and you have a wired connection to connect it to, this is a great router to drop in that space.
To use it as an access
Go
point.
ahead, Gal.
To use as an access point.
As an, yeah.
Yeah.
Like I have old routers that I use in like the small spaces of the house where I either put, DDWRT on it, or I'll just run it even though it's only good for up to G, wireless G.
Yeah.
But the problem with that is that newer devices may not connect real good to them. But this is an AC 750 route for $27.99. And it's a TP-Link. It's a good device. All right, Ring Doorbell 2 for $129.99, which is $70 off. MK850. This is a nice high-end Logitech keyboard and mouse combo. It's got the 3-button connectivity switch built in. $49.99. That's $50 off. It's half price. And that's at Office Depot, Office Max. And finally, our friends at Best Buy. What I did here was, it was so confusing to try to go in and drill down on individual things. The first 2 lines here are actually just showing you like cumulative savings. MacBook, save up to $300 on select models. Minimum savings is $100. It actually did tell you, it's not like maximum $300, minimum $5. You can save up to, a minimum $100 on a MacBook, which is good. iPhone savings up to $500 on the 11 and 11 Pro. Starting, how you get an iPhone 11 for $199? I haven't looked at the terms and conditions. I'm not sure what you have to give away to get it. But all right, select models of iPad, $80 or $100 off each. Apple iWatch Series 4, save up to $100. Save up to $500 on select laptops, and they do have, this is high-end stuff, minimum savings $35, and then on low-end stuff, you can get laptops as low as $119. But look out for some of the ones that have the like a flash memory. It's not a solid state drive. They may be only 64 gig and not a whole lot of storage, but could be upgradable. All right, up to $300 on select gaming desktops. Minimum savings $50. Save on Echo, or save on Ring Video Doorbell 2 and Echo Show 5. Save 70 on the Ring Doorbell and add Echo Show 5 for $10. They've got a good deal on one of those dash cams from Cobra with iRadar built in. It's $119.99, save $30. This is for you, Amnon. This is the Marvel Legends series Avengers Endgame Fist Power Gauntlet. You can set this up so you can run all your operations using this gauntlet. Program it. It's only $70.99, $20 off, $29 off. You ready?
Sure.
Is he still? You still there? All right. You can get two of them. I don't know. Did they make a left-hand version of it?
I don't know, but you can
Probably
manage
not.
to use. You can manage to learn how to use your right.
That's all right. Well, you could probably just force your hand into the right-hand version and your left hand into it and get it to work. Might be a little uncomfortable. All right. So finally, there's a few other things worth mentioning. A couple of TVs here. LG 65-inch TV, smart TV, 4K, $479. 65-inch, save $120. I think the only place I saw a 65-inch TV coming close to this was at Walmart, and it was one of those really weird off-brands. But it's $120 off. Dell 15.6-inch touchscreen, Core i3, $299, $150 off. A Fitbit Versa special edition fitness watch for $119.95, usually $199. And finally, this is not the cheapest TV they're selling, but they do have an Insignia 32-inch 720p television for $84.99, which is $65 off the regular price. And there's a lot of stuff out there. You can go to websites and just do a search on Cyber Monday and find all kinds of stuff out there. And that's it for, geez, it's December 1st. Is it really December 1st?
It is.
Holy cow.
So did anybody buy anything on Black Friday?
I bought something at Lowe's. I bought a tool.
Nice.
I used Rockwell, what they call multi-tool, Sonicrafter multi-tool. I have one now, and I've literally worn it out to the point where there's the part that I need to replace in it. You can't buy it. You can't go and buy this part. So it's so old that I can't go to them and say, hey, replace it for me under warranty. So I bought a newer one. They had their top of the line one on sale. They lowered the price a while ago. It's normally $159 to $129 at Lowe's. That's what they were selling it for normally. And yesterday, I picked it up for $89.
Nice.
So I'm happy. And it comes with a 3-year warranty. So I'll probably wear it out within that 3 years.
What kind of tool is this?
It's called a Sonicrafter, but it's a multi-tool, a vibrating blade.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, there's all kinds of versions of it out there. But I've had the middle level Rockwell for years, and very happy with the variable speed. I've had to take it apart and clean it. It's wonderful, but I've literally worn it out. Starting to make weird noises. Like it's so loud. I always wore hearing protection, but now it's so loud that people are like in the other room, like, what the hell was that sound? So it's time for a new one.
All
this
right.
This one has a variable blade angle, which is very, very good for when you're doing cuts into areas where even if you use the narrow blade, it's still too wide because the angle of the cut is like 5 degrees back and forth. This one cuts it down to like 2.5 degrees. You can vary it between the two, which for really tight spots is very important. So,
you were talking about Intel and AMD, Spence. Intel and AMD have been duking it out in the high-end desktop processor space lately. AMD returned to competitive footing versus Intel has propelled the company forward, and the brand has a loyal, passionate following due to the competitive performance per dollar its third generation Ryzen processors bring versus Intel offering. Last week, both companies have launched new flagship, and now they don't call it 12 core, 18 core, 32 core, 64, call it many core CPUs. The Intel Core i9 10980XE and 3960X, which are 32 core and 24 core chips, respectively. Intel Core i9 10980XE brings a lower price of $999 and competes more favorably versus AMD's lower end 16 core Ryzen 9 3950X that price at $750. Meanwhile, the new AMD Threadripper 3960X at $1,399. The Threadripper 3970X at $1,999 leaves Intel's fastest desktop chip in the dust in multi-threaded workloads, sometimes by a wide margin.
You sure that's not a sewing thing, the Threadripper? Like a seam ripper? No.
While Threadripper 3960X and 3970X pull only about 26 to 36 watts of additional power versus Intel's new Core i9 10980XE. They do it with the 33 to 77% more core resources. Regardless, it's impressive how the tables have turned, as AMD is now firmly entrenched with some better value propositions in high-end desktop processors and better performance in many cases as well.
You know what? It's
Nice.
alien technology.
Yeah,
It's where they opened an interdimensional bridge to another galaxy, and they took the technology and brought it back.
Well, it's nice to see that they're fighting, because you know who are the winners.
We are.
We
Yeah.
are. Absolutely. We are.
It's funny that AMD is still not anywhere near as large as Intel because of all the other things that they do. But AMD has struggled. Gosh, think about it. They were almost gone. How many times had they been like at the death's door, literally? But each time they've come back and kind of remade themselves with the whole GPU business. And I mean, that's a huge part of their revenue now is GPUs. And a lot of that was related to Bitcoin mining. But yeah, they've I forget the head of, I want to say the head of AMD now. I just read an article about them.
Here's an interesting story that we can discuss. Goes, hello, I'm Scout. Want to play? The author writes that his daughter has a toy dog that yaps and comes out with a few stock phrases. When it gets too annoying, he says, I don't hesitate to turn it off. I sometimes think about losing Scout or even accidentally breaking it. Acts that would be cruel to my daughter, but not to the dog. But for how much longer will this be true? Technology is getting better all the time. What will it mean if we can create a robot that is considered alive? If I find myself annoyed by such a robot, would it be wrong to turn it off? Would that be the same as killing it? The answer isn't obvious. Many people already regard robots more sensitively than I do. At Kofuji Temple near Tokyo, Buddhist priests conduct services for dead Aibo robot dogs. In Japan, inanimate objects are considered to have a spirit or soul. So it makes sense for Ibos to be commemorated this way. Such sentiments aren't confined to Japan, however. Julie Carpenter, a roboticist in San Francisco, has written about bomb disposal soldiers who form strong attachment to the robots, naming them and even sleeping curled up next to them in their Humvees. I know soldiers have written to military robot manufacturers requesting they fix and return the same robot because it's part of their team, he says. So that's it's an interesting point here. If you turn a robot off, if you take the battery out, is that like taking their heart out? Is that like killing somebody? It's getting kind of scary almost. I mean, it's a machine. Now, if we have a data that's actually, you can't tell that it's a robot. It's kind of like a different story. But when you're looking at some of these things that are just machines, I wonder if it will be different if those robots were not made to look like a dog or like a person. If it was a square box on wheels and arms that do the same thing. If we feel the same thing, if humans will feel the same thing about it. What do you guys think?
It's it's not a new notion, right? Thinking about it. Some of the best sci-fi
Yep.
content is based on that, but I don't. I know how I feel, right? I don't know whether that will be the norm. I feel if it's a machine, if it was designed by a human being and completely made by a human being, then it's just a machine. It has a function. If it doesn't feel that function, but I also know that, especially with toys, and the more, people look at their Amazon Echo, right, and are frustrated when it doesn't understand, and they get mad and shout at it, right? It's a machine. It either works or it doesn't work. But I think the lines will be more and more blurred as we go forward. And it'll be interesting. Japan is just probably a glimpse of how it will look going forward.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Machine learning is interesting, but if there's nobody there from the human side to guide it, to tell it whether it made a mistake or not in its learning, it might make an assumption and go down a particular path as to build a response tree to a specific inquiry, right? What happens if there's some presumption or assumption that's wrong or not what they designed? That's where I think the danger is with AI, is that you could, depending on how much responsibility you give that machine, it could make an assumption that to go in the direction you don't want it to go. And
most definitely.
Yeah.
There's I'll find it and I'll share in the chat. I saw a video this week about a research paper looking into AI, and they created a problem module where there are two individual AI, which are the hunted, and two individual AIs which are hunting these, and they created with machine learning, they let it run like millions of iterations, and analyzing the only rules were what is a success, what is not, and the physics engines of the model were where things can be pushed, can be shifted, can be locked, etc. And the interesting thing about it was that as time progresses, after a few million iterations, the bots, either on the defending side or on the attacking side, figured out how to find glitches or inconsistencies in the physics module to use for their own action. And the YouTube video shows it, depicts the visuals of it in a very compelling way, where you see how, for example, they figure out that if they push at a certain velocity a certain slab, it shoots them up so high that they get to the other side of the screen fast and catch the defenders. It's like nothing that was expected, nothing that anybody even thought about providing them with that freedom. But the moment they figure out that that freedom exists, they used it, right? They hacked what the humans gave them. And so it's definitely a caution poster about trusting too much machine learning, right? It needs to be, it goes back to Asimov's 3 rules of robotics, right? Where the 3 core rules that can never be changed. And it seems like that we should definitely, when designing, have that part, right? Have that part embedded in. But as Asimov's stories, right? They were all around how these, while they're preserved, they still can be manipulated in such a way that somebody gets hurt. Somebody gets hurt. Somebody can, a robot can cause damage in one way or another. So AI is beyond human understanding, right? And that needs to be cautiously, a very cautious stride towards it should be taken.
Yeah, I agree, and not from a science fiction perspective, from a reality perspective. You don't know what. It's possible something could happen, some breakthrough could happen that we're not even aware of. I don't think it's going to be you remember the Colossus, the Foreman project? Are you familiar with that, Gal?
No, you mentioned it. It's waiting on my viewing list.
Yes. So
looks like this weekend I'm watching it.
It was the original Terminator kind of story from I forget it, probably the 70s, I guess, where they had a U.S. built a computer to control the ballistic missiles, and then, well, more than that, but then the Russians did the same thing, and they were supposed to be in competition with each other. Well, I won't go into the story. I don't want to spoil the story for you. But Colossus, the Foreman project, great movie. Dated, definitely dated, but
yeah,
fun. I heard the new Terminator movie was horrible. That's just the word is. It was so bad.
Well, come on.
Yeah,
the robot aged. Come on.
They actually dug up Linda Hamilton.
Yep.
To be in it. So.
All right. Did everybody register at the WT.social?
No.
Guess not.
What is WT.social?
WT.social is a new social network. WT.
Fake news has influenced the globe.
Oh, I did hear about this, but I haven't registered for it yet. And WT stands for what?
I don't know.
Time?
No idea. That's what it stands for.
Yeah, WT.social is Wikipedia's social network, and you have to pay for it.
No, you don't.
Oh, not going to happen.
Okay.
No, it's not. I mean, I read when I went for it a couple of weeks ago. I read and I said, well, it's going to cost I mean,
Oh,
You sign up.
news focused social
yeah,
network.
Yeah,
journalists.
what happens is you sign up and you register a place in line, and if you pay, you get instant access.
Oh,
From what I'm-
Okay.
oh,
So does it mean that because it's Wikipedia based that people can come in and edit your posts?
Well, Wiki Tribune, that's what WT stands
Yeah,
for.
it's a wiki project.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Haven't heard about it. It'll be interesting to follow.
I'll
Well,
stand
looks
in
like
line.
the
Nick.
Wiki Tribune existed since October 2017. So it's probably a new iteration of this.
Hey, Nick,
Yes,
do
sir.
you have any comments on the bug in Raspberry Pi 4?
No, I didn't know there was a bug in Raspberry Pi.
Yeah, kind of
just about to buy one.
wacky. Yeah, it says Raspberry Pi 4 Wi-Fi fails when using 1440p video output.
Huh.
It's just and somebody found it because they were doing a embedded video wall project using it, and the resolution they set for the monitor HDMI output was 1440, and as soon as you do that, it basically shuts off the Wi-Fi.
Huh. Oh, it probably exceeds the bandwidth of the video card and probably steals the memory.
Some weird thing. But yeah, it's one of those obscure. I just found today on Extreme Tech. Interesting. Oh, they'll fix it, I'm sure. I don't think it's a hardware thing. I hope not, anyway.
Interesting. I did
Yeah.
not see it. I was just about to buy one. There was a good Adafruit or somebody was running a good Black Friday sale on it.
Yeah, the story was dated here November 29th, so it's a new story. The guy that found it was what was the project he was working on? You know, it was here somewhere, but they go into excruciating detail about it.
Probably some buffer float issue or something like that.
Yeah.
40p
Or
video.
maybe it takes over memory it's not supposed to have. Assigned memory and bombs out. Oh well.
Well, it looks like China again is at it. Chinese regulators have announced new rules governing video and audio content online, including a ban on the publishing and distribution of fake news created by technologies such as artificial intelligence and virtual reality. Any use of AI or virtual reality also need to be clearly marked in a prominent manner, and failure to follow the rules could be considered a criminal offense. The
And then
cyberspace.
they'll take you and kill you and harvest your organs. If
Well, I don't know what they. I mean, look over there. They can.
And they do.
It's, the rules of effective January 1st were published publicly on the website of CAC, which is the Cyberspace Administration of China, after being issued to online video and audio service providers last week. In particular, the CAC highlights potential problems caused by deep fake technology, which use AI to create hyper-realistic videos where a person appears to say or do something they did not. So here we just talk about it. And we say we don't want it and that, but nobody's doing anything, right? Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you. I had only one hand, couldn't turn down the mic at the same time. And here, I mean, they're doing something about it. We'll see how it works out. It says that deepfake technology could endanger national security, disrupt social stability, disrupt social order, and infringe upon the legitimate rights of interests of others. True. It's
Go back
very,
and
very
check out
true.
a movie called Looker.
Looker?
It's from the 1980s, and it is
Yeah.
all over this whole story, whole question back then. This was a very forward-thinking uh, description of what happens when you can create fake video and what the implications are. Yeah, Looker, it's called. It's another one of these dated movies.
Yeah.
But very, you think about it. Who was the author now? I'm trying to remember now.
It wasn't Crichton, right? It was somebody like him, I think.
Who did Jurassic Park?
Crichton, Michael Crichton.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
That's him.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, that's him. Yeah.
It was directed by him. Yeah,
Yeah, he wrote
written
it.
and directed. Yeah.
Yep.
I
He did
remember that
another-
movie.
He did another one about robots that was called, oh gosh, it had Tom Selleck in it. Crap, I don't remember the name. But he did some really forward-thinking stuff. And
Yeah.
if you followed any of his lectures, I mean, really was a sad day when he died, cancer. But he did some really brilliant lectures. He did a
Runaway.
couple of book on global warming. He did another book on cyber terrorism. He's just an amazing, way ahead of his time author.
Yeah,
Michael Crichton,
it was
that was amazing.
Crichton. Yeah, it was he had an interesting mind. Yeah, he had the one. Yeah, he had a movie, probably late 70s, beginning of the 80s, with Michael Douglas, I think it was, about cryogenics, which was also good.
His
Yeah.
the first time I ever heard of him was the Andromeda strain.
Yeah,
And that was, I remember I was really young. I can't remember what year it was, but that was one of the first sci-fi novels that I read. And it was because of the movie, I read the book. And
Yeah.
that got me hooked on sci-fi. The remake they did of it, unfortunately, was not very good. He did State of Fear. That was the one about global warming. Prey was another one about not cyber terror. What do you call it? Bioweapons. Of course, Jurassic Park about cloning. And there were so many other ones. And his lectures are still available. The audio and video of his lectures. Some of them were just incredible. Last couple of years he was alive, especially when he knew he was sick. He did some really, really good lectures.
Coma.
Yeah. Yep.
Spence, in
Coma.
the specials, there was something about Bose headphones,
Yes.
Quiet Comfort.
Yes.
Owners of Bose Quiet Comfort 35 headphones are still trying to get the company to either fix or roll back a firmware update that removed noise canceling functions from their over-the-ear gear. The problems date back to July, and some owners seems to have managed to get Bose to exchange their cans for a company's shiny new 700 headphones. We were contacted by a reader who was first given a set of version 2 headphones when his version 1 set were borked. When the update firmware borked them as well, he declined the offer of a replacement set and was given a pair of 700S. Firmware version 452 was fingered as the main culprit. Like all Bose gear, the cans don't come cheap. They set you back $335 to be precise, or $450 for a pair of limited edition white 700S. Pissed off punters have filled a deafening 182 pages of Bose support forms with complaints. One has even set up a change.org petition to beg for a pause on firmware updates until a fix is found. So if anybody listened to watch the specials today and he's thinking about buying these, make sure you don't upgrade them. I wonder if you have a choice.
Well, they're the Quiet Comfort 2. Is this the Quiet Comfort or Quiet Comfort 2 that they're talking about?
They're talking about Quiet Comfort 35. That's
I
what
don't
they
know if it's the
mention
same
here.
Model.
Owners of Bose Quiet Comfort 35 headphones. I don't know.
I have Quiet Comfort, but
So-
I don't remember what model they are, to be honest. I got them at Costco last year.
Just something to think about.
I have never updated the firmware. I know I have the application on the app on my phone to control them, but I guess that's the only way to do it. You'd have to connect
Okay.
through the app
well,
and do the boot.
so it's
Bluetooth
good.
upgrade.
You don't, yeah.
I haven't done it, so I'm not going to bother. It works fine. I don't see how I can add new features.
And this is something I wasn't aware that they're even doing. Amazon says it will shut down a program that sends shoppers free samples based on what it thinks they want to buy. The program, which Amazon began testing earlier this year, used machine learning tools to discern shoppers' buying habits, then sent them free product samples curated for their tastes. Samples include items such as Maybelline mascara, Calvin Klein perfume, and Kind bars, among others. While Amazon likened it to the site's product recommendation tools, the program raised privacy concern among some consumers who have grown increasingly wary of data mining and targeted advertising across the web. Now, Amazon says it is winding down the program. And they say Amazon is constantly testing and launching new offerings to innovate on behalf of customers. At this time, we have decided to discontinue the sampling program in 2020. I never knew they were sending free thing. Why didn't I get free mascara, for instance? You know.
Because you're not in their targeted customer group.
No. I'm being overlooked
So
by
I'll
them.
just mention this quickly. I
Yeah.
found a list of the movies, the recommended movies for Michael Crichton, older movies, not only Andromeda Strain, but Looker is the one that talks about deep fake. This is 1981, right? And then the other movie is called Runaway, 1984, about robots. And it's really well done. He previews having camera drones flying around, part of the movie in 1984. Remarkable.
He's the mind behind Westworld.
Westworld, yep. Jurassic Park.
That was a good movie.
And the TV show they did around Westworld, the new one, is pretty
On
good. At least
HBO, yeah.
the
Yeah.
first season was excellent. The second one was a bit weird, but yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't as good. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the first season was good.
hmm
Second one gets a little strange.
Yeah, it gets too off course.
Yep.
But that one is completely about the question, right, of whether the machine has a soul and
Yes.
and how to deal with it. So definitely,
Definitely blurs lines.
yeah.
Yep.
And Amazon is getting close to give Echo. Oh, they're getting
Promotions.
closer. Amazon announced last week that developers can now have Alexa respond to questions from US users with a happy/excited or disappointed/empathetic tone. Amazon suggests
How do you
that
make it do like a shoulder shrug? How can you make that an audio shoulder shrug?
I don't
Or
know.
a sigh.
it
You asked
says
that question again.
Amazon
I
suggests
don't know.
Amazon suggests the happy, excited tone could be used when it answers a trivia question correctly, for example, and that the disappointed, empathetic tone could be used when you answer a sports score and your favorite team has lost. Now, they had some samples on YouTube, and yeah, it's not that monotonic sound. It says, "Oh, hey, you know." So
Well, I mean, it can whisper, right? So
yeah,
it's a matter of recording. It's interesting what they do. I remember few years ago. I need to find that. There's a company where you can donate your voice. You basically go through a pretty long process of recording your voice in different they guide you, right, reading some text and telling you how to pronounce it. And the idea is to provide unique voices for people who've lost their voice or don't have a voice, and they'll need some electronic aid to speak for them. And
Okay.
so, I mean, the Amazon Echo, right, the voice in there currently is the same voice for every machine. With systems like these, I mean, the one I'm talking about is about a medical situation where somebody lost their voices. But think about it: if you could train and it can sound, you know, like some version of somebody at home, right? And so you can preserve grandma for eternity or whatever to speak with you. It's yeah.
I want my Alexa to use Rocky's voice. Hey, you're low.
I mean, if you remember, most GPSs used to have like a very terrible sounding voice, right? And I think Waze was one of the first, at least for me, where it not only had like the, you know, a male or a female, but also different types. And they back in Israel, I remember they were testing it with different movie characters, giving you you know, directions in a very specific style. So you'll get a some sort of army corporal shouting at you directions, or you'll get a character from one of the, you know, latest kids movies giving you the directions. So definitely we'll get to customizations of that as well. So why not find excitement and disappointment as well?
Why not?
Or absolute joy when you say, Alexa, order me. You're supposed to be ordering one of a specific thing, and by mistake, you get 100. Oh, wow. Thank you for your order. That's great. You usually only get one. Now I'll give you 100. Order process. Thank you. Too late to turn it back.
Yeah, vocalid.ai voice bank. That's the voice donation program. Very bizarre one. A unique idea.
Can you imagine you go and you visit somebody and suddenly you hear Alexa talk in your voice?
Yeah. So Nick, going back to your questions from the beginning of the show, of like leaps that will change substantially, I think the leaps will be in areas like these. Like suddenly there's no longer small niches, right? Every small niche, because of the interconnection of everything today, is suddenly a lot larger than it used to be. And I think each of these niches, like people who've lost their voices, okay, we're not talking about a huge amount of the population. We're talking about a very, very small amount of the population, but enough so when they're grouped together, they need a solution that has never been available before. They will experience, I think, the biggest change. Something very similar was there's an app for a phone where you can be the eyes of blind people. It connects seeing people with blind people, and when a blind person needs help, they just, you know, press they activate the application on their phone, and then they can hold the camera. They need to choose, I don't know, a blue sweater against a red sweater in the closet, and they don't have anybody at home to help them, and they can use that, and you can assist them. It's an amazing concept. It is such a niche audience, right? But it connects that niche audience to the world and provides them something that was never possible before. And those leaps, I think, those are the points where we'll experience the most out of this. So I don't think anybody will be wowed again by being connected, even if, I don't know, through holograms, let's say, right? Like some sci-fi show us. But these niche groups, there'll be more and more, they'll get more and more advanced services and more advanced solutions that were never before even thought about, not even in sci-fi.
Okay. Let's see. Gene?
Yeah.
Hey.
How you doing?
All right. How are you?
You guys are talking about the old days at the beginning of the program. I thought I'd end up by going back a little older. You're not really old enough. I came out of the service in 1959 and went to programming school for IBM, and I learned how to program the first high-speed computer in the world, or really the second one, the IBM 704. It took up 3,000 square feet. It was put on a raised floor because we had a water cooler. It was vacuum tube. And it had 16K memory and a 32 microsecond clock. When we wrote programs, we wrote it in machine language. And the machine language, then we take into a key punch room and they punch binary decks full of zeros and ones. You take those binary decks then and you get your computer time and go in and test your program. If you had an error and it stopped, they do a dump for you. And the dump would come out in octal. And then we go back to our desk and we sit with the binary deck and we would basically convert octal to decimal and try and find the place where instead of having a 0, we had a 1, or instead of having a 1, we had a 0. Now, we had these little hand key punches. And if you needed a 0 where you had a 1, you could put it in this hand punch rather than have to go back into the computer room and punch it out. If you needed a 0 where you had a 1, we'd go back into the tray where all the bits were, and we'd take a bit and we'd put it in the hole and patch it. Now, the reason you did that is because computer time was extremely tough to get. So you just couldn't go in there and run all the time. I mean, you had to get online to wait. And I'll tell you the funniest thing was when we were doing this, there were 4 704s in the entire country. One was in Los Alamos. One was in the Goddard Space Center in New York City. The other was at MIT. And then the last one, the fourth one, was the one we were using up in IBM Poughkeepsie. When the first space shot was going to go and Goddard was going to control it, they called us up and said, you guys are going to have to go to another computer to run your stuff this weekend because we need a backup machine for the space shot. And so, you know, with that lack of memory, everything you had, all that we would put in memory now was on tapes. You remember the tape drives, right? All these tapes. So we went out and got a Foot Locker and stuffed it up with all our tapes, and we drove out that weekend to MIT to run our program because we couldn't use the machine we had at home. And that's going back a ways.
What
Look
space
where
shot was it, Gene?
Yeah.
Which launch was it?
The
Do you remember?
704.
Say it again?
IBM 704.
No, I mean,
Google it, you'll see it.
which space launch did they have to borrow it for?
Oh, that was the first one when they just put a vehicle in orbit.
Okay,
It was
that was
way before
Explorer?
space.
Explorer, I think it was.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Yeah, the
but-
first one, the Vanguard one, is the one that exploded on the pad.
I was just worried that he's going to say that was the moon landing and it was going to burst my bubble.
No. No,
Wait a minute, don't land yet. We have to punch
Hey.
that piece of that piece of paper
I
back
got,
in on
I
the
got
punch
another,
card. Hold on.
I got something about that though. When they opened up the Space Center in Houston, I was in Poughkeepsie and I was what they call information systems manager. Then it was IT manager, and I used to make presentations to our customers on how to use these computers. And they invited me out to Houston to make a presentation to one of their companies. So a marketing guy and I went out there, and when I got finished, it was too early to go to the airport. So they said, "How would you like to go see the Space Center?" And I said, "That'd be great," because I knew there was an IBM 704 at that time there, or maybe a 705. Maybe it was the next step. And surely, we went in there, and you know exactly what it looks like. All those guys sitting there in front of those cathode ray tubes, the Raytheons, and then sure as hell, the IBM computer, 3,000 square feet in the corner. And I said, "Boy, this is very impressive." He says, "You think that's impressive? Let's go upstairs." So we went upstairs, and upstairs was a 100% absolute a la downstairs. Identical. All the cathode ray tubes, people sitting there, and another machine. And that was all because those things went down so much in those days, they needed immediate backup. And IBM backed them up like that.
Wow.
Nice.
I'll tell you, if it wasn't for IBM, I don't think we would have had a space program in those days.
Oh yeah. What was that? The movie about the women that were involved with one of the first NASA.
Hidden Figures.
Yeah, Hidden Figures. What a great movie.
So on the line of what Gene was telling us with the debugging by printout and all of that, there's a fantastic YouTube video done. There's a channel called Smarter Every Day. He's the guy behind the channel. He's a rocket engineer, and in his past, and they go to the Saturn display, and they get a tour by one of the guys who was a programmer in the program, and they talk about a memory component in the Saturn rocket, and he explains how it actually worked. And because there were, the whole contraption was basically hand weaved wires in certain directions and all, and they had various process where the humans would check that the computer did the computation right. So it's a very interesting video where he describes the process of how it works and how they tested it. So definitely worth a view. And thanks, Dean, for sharing. That's amazing.
Yeah, okay, guys. I'll talk to you later.
All right, Gene. Take care.
Bye.
All right. It's that time of day. Anybody has anything else to add here? Nick?
Don't spend too much money on Cyber Monday.
Maybe. We'll see. I'll tell you this before we go.
Did you buy any good game?
Buying what?
Did you buy any good games?
I bought a game Tuesday because of the Steam sale, but I got a really good deal on a UPS at Office Depot. 650 VA UPS, normally $79, $30.
Wow.
Back ordered though, so I don't know when I'm gonna get it.
2021.
Hey, whatever. Well, I may have moved by then.
Nah.
I don't. So yeah, no, that's it. That's all I got.
All right. Well, thanks everybody. Thanks, Gal, Spence, Nick. Extra thank you to Nick for what he did the past few days here.
Extra thank you to you as well
Well,
for
still.
Thanksgiving dinner.
I guess that's it. Good morning,
right.
Kathy, Hannah, Nabil, Mac, Norm, Katie, and Donna, and Dina. Thank you, everybody, for tuning to Computers 2K Now. We hope you enjoyed and maybe learned something from our time together. Remember to practice safe computing. Back up your hard drive and update your virus scanner. We'll be back here next Sunday at 9, but you can always reach us at computers2know.com. See you next week.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by Telestream's Wirecast software, StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.